you're not really a magic sets and reps guy in terms of some Goldilocks perfect protocol. And the reason I bring that up is that just like you can regress range of motion in a movement, you can regress the volume.
Yeah.
And what I would say is that in pain-free range of motion, a little bit can go a long way. So if you look at something and you're like, I don't have time for 3 sets of this or 5 sets of that or whatever it might be. Okay, fine. Well, maybe you start with 1 set.
Yeah.
And I know people who have gotten into tremendous shape coming from a baseline of 0, right?
Yeah.
No athleticism, nothing. And they're like, I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have to do that. I'm like, what about 1 push-up before bed? What about 1 push-up?
Yeah.
Is there a reason you can't do 1 push-up? They're like, yeah, of course I can do 1 push-up. I'm like, okay, great. Do 1 push-up. And then turns into 2, and then it turns into whatever. And I know one guy, like within a few months, he was doing 50 push-ups before bed, and he started to see real results. And then that was the unlock.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a long-winded way of just saying, don't get fixated on your limitations. You can always scale down.
My starting system is 1 to 2 sets.
Yeah.
And then I found for myself, 1 to 2 sets I can maintain great.
Yeah.
Only on exercises that I'm planning to put more weights on, I'll go a couple more sets just to actually, you're probably still only talking 1 or 2 sets really exerting.
Like work sets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to make sure people safely take their time. Now, I simply wouldn't have believed 15 years ago that now I'd be like doing only 2 workouts a week, 45 minutes dunking and stuff. So I wouldn't have believed it. Like if someone thinks we're full of shit, like I would have thought we were full of shit. That also doesn't mean that higher volume programs can't work.
Yep.
Number one, I see all the different exercises as a beautiful freedom with different inputs and adaptations. And I see all of fitness as positive. And then I see even all people's viewpoints of then how to program that up as positive. I don't do the like comparing, tear down, what's better. Like the program you stick with that works for you and your goals is awesome.
Yeah. The program you stick with is the best program.
Yeah.
And I want to reiterate what you're saying because I write books to be references for myself, basically. If I can find a book that does the job already, writing's way too hard. The research is way too arduous. It takes way too long. I don't want to write a book. It also turns out to generally be a terrible way to make any money, even if your books do very well. So there's just way too much of pushing boulders up the hill for me to write a book unless I feel like I'm gathering things that I need and can't find somewhere else. That was the case with the 4-hour body. And this minimum effective dose, the concept, the MED, of finding the minimum effective dose, and you can look at many comparables, right? It's like there's a certain temperature at which you boil water. You don't need to get it 30 degrees hotter, right? If you go outside, there's a point at which you start to adapt in the sun and develop a tan. You don't need or want to stay out another hour, right? And you progress and you start to extend the duration, et cetera. It turns out that you can apply this almost everywhere. You can apply it to language learning with the highest frequency words. You can apply it to, for instance, I was asking on X, back when it was Twitter, people for favorite chapters in the 4-hour body because I was curious about possibly updating things, although there's not a lot that needs much updating, it turns out. And people gave various examples. There was I think it was an NFL player who was benched and got back to playing professionally using the prehab chapter and Occam's protocol. Occam's protocol is like 20 minutes twice a week, resistance training, and a handful of other things. There's another guy who chimed in, and I understand you can't believe everything you read on the internet, but I've seen multiple examples of this. He got to, I think, a 475-pound deadlift using the Barry Ross protocol in the book. And Barry Ross coached Allison Felix and many other sprinters. It is the most minimal thing you could possibly imagine. And a crux piece of it is doing deadlifts to the knee and then effectively dropping the bar so that you're not risking any type of hamstring strain, and doing 2 to 3 sets of 2 to 3 reps. That's it. And you're taking big, fat powerlifter rests in between those sets. The amount of strength that you can build doing that is head spinning.
Wow.
So I just want to emphasize that I don't have enough time doesn't really hold up to scrutiny if you're willing to scale back. And in fact, You can do a lot more with very little than you might suspect. Yeah. To your point, there are also volume-based approaches. And I mean, Poliquin, we talked about Poliquin.
Yeah.
He did a lot of high volume stuff with his athletes. Not everyone is going to tolerate that very well, nor is it going to be compatible with their schedules necessarily. So you find what works for you. And ultimately, the program you stick with is the best program.
I love that. Yeah, the 4-hour body had a massive effect on me. And like this phase of life, it's like 2-hour body for me.
Yeah.
And because it's like the strength, the flexibility, the circulation, the cardio, all this stuff wrapped in one. Yeah, I mean, I don't do any other therapies. I don't have to take any supplements. Those couple hours go a long way for me. And then what are my goals? Like for me, being a dad and then really focusing on my business, treating people well and doing good. It takes a lot of time and energy because if you turn a blind eye to your business, that's rarely going to happen on its own.
Yeah, very rarely. I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
Yeah, so it's like, those are my goals. I also don't want to spend any time having to rehab stuff.
Yeah.
And knock on wood, it's 12 years now, no knee or back problems. It was like 15 years ago that I got into this. And I would say my biggest mistake was treating it as short-term rehab and being like, oh, great. And then trying to go back to the methods I used to do.
Yeah.
Whereas now for me, like you had the question in the video of like, so is this like a warm-up for the work? And then like, that's the workout. And then you get better at those things. And some of these things we've mentioned, whether it be then finishing with a set of ring rows to a good burnout, that's going to take a minute and goes a long way.
Yeah.
So the efficiency of sledding and what I use at home is a resisted treadmill forward and backward. I look at the clock, like 3-4 minutes have gone by that I've done 3 sets forward and backward, catching my breath between each set. I'm pumped. My lungs have had a great workout. My legs are like warmed up, springy, fast, all this stuff. So 4-hour body, you can see in my passion, this is more along my passions in life, is almost helping people that don't want so much stress on the body.
Yeah.
To then be able to focus on other things.
Or stress on the schedule, right?
Yeah.
Stress on the family.
Yeah.
And I would say that if I were to, and it's just these things are too long, and the vast majority of what's in the 4-hour body, I feel is very defensible. It's become more defensible over time, which has been cool to see since it came out in 2010. But if I were to add a few things to it, I would add sled work or analogs like the resisted incline treadmill. I would add a chapter on intermittent fasting.
Oh, cool.
I would add a chapter on, it might not be a chapter, but maybe a sidebar on various hip activities, exercises, things like glute medius work, just things that you can do to stabilize everything else in effect that I did put some of in Tools of Titans with, say, some of Peter Attia's exercises and so on. I would probably add a chapter or a sidebar on Zone 2 training, which I still to this day find to be the most boring thing in the world. But if I have to drag myself or whip myself to do anything, that would be on the high whipping scale. And I think that's about it. And there are probably chapters that I would pull out to simplify, right? To further simplify things. And that's about it.